Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, where we interview interesting people doing interesting things, where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. And it's a beautiful day for the Pirate Broadcast, and we're here sharing interesting people doing interesting things. And I love that you're here and all the appreciation. And thank you. We're going to be talking to Richard Mulholland about some things that are very important right now. It's going to be presentations and why you need to update your presentations. And right now, in this day and age, online presentations are the key to your survival in a lot of ways. And Richard, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing some of the gifts that you bring to the table in the pirate community. And how you doing?
Doing fantastic. Thanks, Russ. Really stoked to be here and for the opportunity to share some ideas. So that's amazing.
Yeah, you know, we were talking before the show and we covered a lot of ground, I think, before the show. And, you know, this year alone, you know, kind of level sets the presentation arena, because previously last year, you know, there was a lot of live events, a lot of stage presentations, a lot of large board meetings, I'm sure, a lot of public gatherings, networking events. And so the landscape's changed a little bit, and you've been in the business a long time. And so coming into 2020, where everybody stopped doing the live events, let's work backwards. Let's talk about what's going on right now and the presentations that and how they've developed this year for your business, because you know, you've had to adapt in this year as well. Talk a little bit about that and what's taking place right now for you.
Okay, so to jump back briefly to March, in March our business was decimated.
Mm-hmm.
We realized every event was canceled. Our revenue went to zero. But I realized quite quickly that I wasn't struggling with a COVID virus problem. I was struggling with a people are canceling their events problem. And I couldn't understand why you would cancel your events, because in my mind, people needed local leadership more in March this year than they needed it in March any of the other years that I've had a business.
Yeah.
So the first idea that we had to go to war with was, why are you canceling your event? Cancel your gathering, but don't cancel your event and your learning and your leadership that you should be doing. And so that's what we went out with. But of course, people were uncomfortable because they were uncomfortable with presenting online. This is the first leveler of the playing field. You may not have had as much big stage experience as some of the other big speakers out there, but all of a sudden, that's not holding them in any good stead. The biggest speaker in the world, the Malcolm Gladwells and Simon Sinek's and all of those people, all were back to being amateurs at presenting through this little camera there. Yeah. And it turns out that a YouTuber was more equipped to deliver a good presentation this way than the world's top speakers. A YouTuber had the cameras, the gear, the lighting, everything set up to deliver amazing online presentations, but the experts didn't. So this was an incredible opportunity for us to sit up and say, hey, we'll help you through it. I always say that Stopforth's law says any area that lacks an expert, whoever puts their hand up first becomes it. And that's exactly what happened. There was no experts. We're like, hey, pick us. And we became those de facto experts to people in our community. And so that was the first major change.
Yeah, I love that you said that. And the fact that, you know, that's another way of framing how you can be an expert is, you know, when it's a level playing field, anybody that puts their hand up and says, hey, I'm going to take the lead in this, I'm going to learn a little bit more quicker than the next person, can really stand out in the crowd. And you've been doing this for well over 20 years, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm 46 now. I started the business when I was 22. And Russ, to what you said there, that about the level playing field, that level playing field has always existed somewhere in your industry. There's somewhere, if you look at your industry and write down all the different categories, it's like a big funnel. At the top of the funnel might be marketing, but then you go down, and eventually you'll find an area where nobody's put their hand up, or a few people have put their hand up and nobody owns it. That's where you put your flag. That's where you go out there and start sharing your ideas. At the top of the funnel, you know, social media expert. That's then I could throw a stone and hit somebody who does what you do. But the further down you come, there's always that opportunity. So yeah, so that's been a big deal.
And that's why niching down is so important. It's so counterproductive. It's so incredibly counterproductive to think, well, if I only do this, how many opportunities am I missing? And it's just the opposite. It's like, if I only do this, only the people that want this will start showing up in my world. And you've been able to do a storytelling to presentation for a long time, and I love the idea of sharing a story in a presentation, and I love the idea of developing that story into an outcome that everybody gets to the point where the only conclusion is moving forward to the next step. And so I've seen some great presentations in my day, and I just really appreciate the storytelling aspect of it. And so maybe you could walk through a little bit of how we need to think about that in today's age, and developing our skills for what is taking place right now, Richard.
Right. Okay. So it's amazing. You did 3 leaps there that are 3 big parts of what I want to talk to you about in terms of the storytelling aspect. It was the storytelling, the what you took away from it, and the first few steps. And because a lot of people miss that out when it comes to stories. And I'm going to hang up here, Russ, as well, the other opportunity that's happened with this year, and that is geography. The geography landscape has changed as well. And we'll come back to that if we remember. But
I'll tag
when
that.
it comes to storytelling, yeah. When it comes back to storytelling, what people mess up all the time is they think that their story matters. Unless you are a motivational speaker, like you climbed Everest with one leg, carrying your sister, right? If that was your story, then that's amazing. Then tell your story. But if you are you run a wealth management company and you have got some really, really impressive clients, that's not what I need to hear from you. I don't need to hear how you started your business and what you fought through. What I want to know is, how can I take your wealth management knowledge out of your head, and how can you make me better? The line we always say is, it's cool because it's not about you. You're not the hero, right? Yeah. The champion is in the chair. The sage is on the stage. The sage's job is to help the champion defeat their dragon. That's all you're trying to do. That's the only job of your presentation. The one other job you have is to help them see their dragon in the first place. So that's where they got to get to. Now, when it comes to storytelling, the problem with most people is they think by just telling a cool story, an interesting story, that they're doing their job well. But you have 2 jobs here. You as a paid public speaker, for example, I have 2 jobs. I have to perform, like I got to deliver a great performance and make people enjoy themselves, but I've also got to inform. So I've got to actually get across some messaging that they can use to change the way they think. Now, most stories tend to be just that, good stories. And at the end of it, you're thinking like, good story, bro. Like, thanks. But why did you tell me this? Yeah, what's your point? It's actually my one book, Story Setter, originally was actually called Good Story, Bro, because it's not about a story. The metaphor I always use for this is, I used to have this dog called Murphy. He was a boxer, so well trained, super obedient, would do everything that I told him to do, but wouldn't take medicine. I could try anything. That dog would not take a pill. It doesn't matter how obedient he is. I would say, Murphy, sit, and I'd put it there in his mouth, and he would spit it out. But of course, we're smarter than dogs. So we've learned, if you take a pill and you put it in some peanut butter and you put it down on the floor, the dog will run and lick it all up. It'll eat it. And before it knows what's happened, it's delivered the pill.
Yeah.
That's the job of stories in your presentation. Your job of stories is not to deliver peanut butter. It's to be a packaging and a delivery mechanism for the pill.
I love
that. If you deliver a presentation that's just a story, you deliver the sugary, sweet experience for your audience that they forget. It's like a sugar rush that they forget the second it wears off. That's most motivational speakers. You feel, oh yeah, I can do everything. And then you drive out of the conference center and some guy cuts you off in traffic, like, and then it's over. Then it's done. On the flip side, if you're too sciencey and too much about the data and you try just deliver the pill, it's too much for your audience to take in. And they don't absorb it. So what you've got to do on storytelling is get the right ratio of peanut butter to pill. Package those things together, and that's when storytelling matters. But it's actually not, storytelling is not the goal. It's story is a Trojan horse for packaging something else. So the rise of storytelling in the public mind as a cool concept has actually done damage to activating audiences, because we're now all out there just trying to tell cool stories instead of trying to deliver payloads. Sorry, that was a very long answer, but I feel strongly about this one.
Well, the moral of this story is don't forget your peanut butter.
Or your pill. Bring them both.
When you're delivering your pills, don't forget your peanut butter.
Exactly.
I love that. So come back to the geography piece, because we want to make sure that we bring that to the table and answer that question.
So there's another unfair advantage you have now. And it's another, in the past, for me as a speaker in South Africa. So last year, I spoke in 26 countries on 6 continents. That meant that I was at home in my house here for 7 days in a row, only twice in the whole year. Now I have a family. I have a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old. That's not a great way to live your life. I can sell it to sound glamorous, but it's really not nice. And I promise you, I'm not flying business class everywhere. There's a lot of, economy class flights squeezing in next to people.
Yeah.
This year, though, all of a sudden, and even then, by the way, it's tricky because for somebody to book me to come and speak, say, in Arizona, they've got to consider the cost of flying me, accommodating me, doing all of that work from halfway around the world, basically 2 international flights, here to London, London to the US. Right? That's a lot of friction I'm adding for booking me as a speaker.
Yeah.
Now that friction is gone. Now I am cheaper, more affordable, more accessible, and perhaps more glamorous than the speaker in Arizona. Because now I bring an accent, I bring different thinking, I'm a leader in my field, and I can deliver as well as the local presentation guy who's sitting over there.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, those geographical handcuffs have been ripped off, but people aren't taking advantage. They're still appealing to their old customers. I am not reaching out to any of my old local customers because right now I would rather be paid in dollars than paid in rands. I'd rather be paid internationally, and I'd rather build up. Right now, while we're in this period of time, there is a gold rush on webinars and online presentations. Why would I want to have the same impact and influence at the end of this than I did going in? Especially because the future is hybrid.
Well, and it's a huge opportunity to expand your market to audiences that have never had an option or an opportunity to engage with you. And I think that's a lot of people. I always seem to look on the bright side of things, and the opportunity is in the challenge. It's always you have to think how to unpack the challenging pieces of what we're dealing with and discover where is the opportunity in this. And that's exactly what you're talking about. Is geography is no longer the investment. It's actually just your time that they can invest in. It's your expertise. It's your 20 plus years of experience in understanding about audience and packaging the pill and the peanut butter and making sure that the message is delivered in a way that makes a difference, makes it matter. And so I think that's a lot of that's a huge opportunity. And I don't think after everything changes in whatever the future is going to be, I don't think you need to go back to that. I mean, there's a lot of people that are creating businesses out of this.
We're not going back to anything. We're going forward to something.
Yeah.
So a set of permissions have been unlocked. The idea that, hey, at an event in the future. So now imagine we're hosting a big event in South Africa. We big place. Sun City is a big conference center up here in South Africa. I believe that's where you stay as well. So Sun City, South Africa, and normally there'd be a big local event, and I might be the local speaker, and then they may wanted to have got another local speaker. But now they think, well, we could get Brené Brown, because in the cost of getting a big name local speaker, they could now get Brené Brown. So part of the talk could be live with a live audience, and part of the talk could be online, and where the hybrid audience get the first level experience. So I think the future is going to be these mixed events where some people will be live in the room, some people will be watching online, some speakers will be delivering online, and some speakers will be live in the room. And of course, there'll be some events that are just online or in person. But there is a massive, massive growth opportunity, and most people aren't taking it. This was your opportunity. This is like the invention of YouTube again, where the early YouTubers became big and famous.
Yeah.
What webinars are right now is what YouTube was back at the financial crisis. And the next stars are being created right now. And I just worry that so many people haven't put their hand up for it.
Yeah. Well, I just finished my 300th episode of this live stream, and I stream live to Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, go subscribe. Reckless plug. And I just really agree with what you're saying, because there's a huge opportunity, and a lot of organizations are starting to. I produce shows for other organizations, and they're starting to get the idea that, hey, what was it you said in the beginning? Cancel the gathering, but not the event. And I love that, because there's so many opportunities for you to connect and engage. I mean, look at us. 20 years ago, we would not have had the opportunity to really connect like this. 5 years ago, we wouldn't be connecting like this. And it's really amazing to me. And I get so excited about this kind of technology and the opportunity to have conversations around the world with people and leaders and people that have a amazing skill like yourself, Richard. So it's just an honor and a privilege to make these connections for me and introduce you to the pirate community.
Thanks, Russ.
So thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. And just one thing on what you said there as well about, again, this year being an accelerator. I have a friend who runs a podcast for dads. It's called Dedicated. It's all just about dads. And we were having lunch last week, and he said to me, one of the biggest things that's changed this year is 2 years ago, last year even, when he would invite somebody to be on their show, he wanted good quality audio. So he would send them microphones. He would buy a microphone on Amazon and send it to them. And that was part of his little gift thing he would do. But it ensured that he got much better quality audio. And he had to teach people, like, this is the software you're going to use. This is how you do it. He says now he doesn't do that anymore, because everybody has bought everyone's got a better camera. Everyone's got a better microphone. Everyone's got better lighting. Everyone has done some work on their setup. So we now all have these mini studios available and ready to go. So actually, if you look, and I understand, and I want to be sensitive to the fact that I know people lost jobs and there were things, but I think when we look at the economic rollout effect of what was catalyzed in 2020, I think if you look back at 2030, at 2020, it will have been seen as a catalyst for good and for growth and for progress. It'll be the fastest accelerated progress. It was like the technology was running away from us. It was getting a fast forward. Now, wow, we've all caught up with it. Yeah. And that's so exciting. So 2021 or going forward, even if it's not the same, but better, we're more ready for the future this year than we were in the last 5-10 years.
Well, and a lot of organizations are going to say, well, how, we're operating just fine. We've caught up to our technology challenge, and now we're operating just fine. And we have a remote workforce that is, not necessarily coming to an office, or not necessarily coming to a gathering at a location. And it's changing the way we're going to be thinking about business in the future. There's no way around it. It just has to take place. So I'm just really, I'm ready and willing to look at the future and take the challenge and put my hand up and say, I can help you get online and do some live events. So it's amazing. My business has grown this year. So I'm fortunate in that respect, and I continue to look forward to growth in the next year. I want to go back, Richard, and talk about, because this is such a fascinating subject to me, having somebody that does specifically what you do. When you were 20, what was the possessed you in your mind to think about this is what you were going to do till you're 46? What was it that triggered that moment in your life that really kind of got you moving in this direction?
Frustration and hatred. Okay, so here's the thing. I used to operate lights for bands, and so I was lucky enough
for years. So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
So I was a lighting designer, and I was specifically an operator of moving lights. Now, come winter in our country, in South Africa, you didn't get any work. And the reason was that Africans just don't go out when it's cold, which is crazy. I was born in Scotland, right? You couldn't not go out when it was cold. Anyway, I started doing corporate work, and I would go to these corporates. Now, if you've ever been to a conference, at the back of the room, there's a technical crew. They're sitting in front of house, and they're sitting there in their smart little black shirts behind that mixing desk, and they're dying inside. Now, it's easier for the guys today because the guys today have YouTube or podcasts or PlayStations or whatever the case may be, switches, so they can distract themselves. Back in my day, son, right, when I started out, we had to listen to your terrible presentations. I had to sit in the back of the room listening to people kill my soul. And my biggest frustration was it didn't matter how good the lighting was. It didn't matter how well I programmed these lights and they moved, and you come running through the audience, high-fiving people. You're all excited. Everyone's cheering, going crazy. You get to the stage and, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much. And it was dead. And it didn't matter how good I was. If you were good at presenting, it was good. If you were bad at presenting, it was terrible. And I realized that I was a cure for the wrong disease. It didn't matter. It wasn't about fixing the lighting, sound, and AV and staging. Everyone fixes the fancy stuff at events.
Yeah.
People spend about 20 times more on the event room than they spend on the presenters. Wow. I know this. I see this every day, like decor and the big screen. I cannot understand the amount of effort spent on putting stuff on the big screen, fancy graphics, all exciting, and then the speaker stands up and goes, "Hi, everybody. Thank you so much." And they're terrible.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like, we're not leveling up this right thing. So I was like, no, this is terrible. And occasionally I'd see these presenters who were really good and they would work. And I would start giving those little tips. And then I met this designer and I would start sending work his way. So like I would go and sell the staging and I moonlit a bit and said, okay, cool. Well, here's some cool tips. And this guy can help you with your slides and on-screen graphics. And before I knew it, we were 6 months in. I had about 5 employees, and I thought, okay, this is a business. I should maybe do this for a living. So I didn't start.
Your story.
It
ended up being your business, huh?
Totally. And it was only driven. The biggest lie we've been served forever is that you're supposed to do what you love. A far more interesting lie is to do what you hate. Find something that you hate and fall in love with the idea of solving it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a brilliant statement that a lot of people miss. And, you know, this idea of, and we could go down a whole nother rabbit hole with passion and, you know, meaning of life and what you need to do and everything else. I mean, I've had so many different chapters in my life. It's crazy. And it's just, I appreciate all of the episodes and all of the changes and everything else. However, it's really, I hats off to you, because that's a great story. I love the idea that you were solving your own pain and helping people along the way, which is really the essence of, if we can do that, that's a good thing. It's just really a great opportunity to help a lot of people. So I want to come back to, you know, a lot of people, number one, they struggle with being on camera, which is another subject that would take a little while to unpack. However, building a story or crafting a story, what are some tactics that we can actually just share today, Richard, that to get somebody thinking about what they need to do and how they need to approach it, or what they need to start with, and how they can improve what they're doing right now?
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you an action framework. Framework that you can deliver and you can utilize for building any presentation you want. Then I'm going to explain to you how you can work backwards through that framework, because that's how you prepare your story. So for us, a presentation structure, what we refer to as our action framework, will go through 4 phases. And every phase is very, very simple. And if you follow these phases in order when you're delivering a presentation, you'll be off to a good place. So step number 1, you've got to give your audience a reason to care. You have to buy your audience's attention before you can sell them anything, even ideas, right? Even education. You're still selling an idea to them. So step number 1, you have to give your audience a reason to care. You have to do that first. You have to create curiosity in them, or create some unanswered questions, create an itch that they want to scratch. Step number 2, you've got to give your audience a reason to believe. Why should they trust you? Right? Why? And so most people jump straight in there. They're like, hi, I've got this many years of experience or this mixing. But you don't want to start there. You first of all want to give them a reason to care and then say, now you care about this topic. Here's 2 or 3 facts that make you trust me as why I should be an authority to help you. Then step number 3, you want to tell them what they need to know. This is your legacy list, the 3 things that you need to know about such and such, 5 ways that you can change your whatever the case may be. And then finally, the most important step that almost every presenter forgets is step number 4. Tell them what they need to do. You see, a presentation's job is to deliver a message to achieve a result. And if you do not tell your audience explicitly, implicitly what they have to do when they get off that stage, they won't do anything. They'll just be entertained. They'll just have enjoyed it. And they'll be like, oh, that guy was really cool. What are you going to do? Because as a result
of a ride in Disneyland, say, that was a nice ride. Thanks.
Totally. But it doesn't change your life. Now, this is what I go back to when you said earlier, you said, get them going on a journey. You've got to turn around and say, what is that one thing that you want them to do as a result of you being here? Right? As a result of you presenting, you've got to turn around and say, well, I want you to take one specific action because of this presentation. And it's not the big action. It's the smallest action possible that they can do to start going in the right direction.
Yeah.
I see Daniel said in the comments, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. And that is a great framework for presenting. You start off, you explain it. I think it's slightly different though. It's tease them, tell them, and then tell them to do. It's those 3 things, but you want to tease them about what you're going to talk about. You want to give them the information, and then you want to give them those clear calls to action. Angie mentioned as well, like subscribe to my YouTube channel. Good job, Angie. If you're going to plug, you got to do it. But it is important, and there's 2 calls to action. There is your call to action that you want them to do for you. For example, I want you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. But there's the call to action, which is what I want you guys to do, is to sit down and at the end of this, just right now while you're scribbling down, I want you to write down, if I was to deliver a talk, if I was invited to do a talk in the next 2 weeks to my dream audience, 1, who would that audience be? And 2, what is the change I would want to make in them after I get off stage? And just start thinking about that idea. If you just wrote down those 2 sentences for now, you're well on your way to thinking, hey, I actually do have something worth sharing, an idea worth changing the world. Now, when it comes to writing that presentation, just work backwards through that list. Just first of all, turn around and say, what do I want my audience to do as a result of me getting on stage? Then turn around and say, what 3 things do I need to tell them, or 5 things do I need to tell them that will equip them with the tools they need to do that? Then go to the beginning. Why should they care in the first place? Like, why should they care enough to listen to me talk about this? And then finally, just fill in the gap that says, and why should they trust me to tell them? And if you think of those, that's the way I work through every single talk that I derive. I don't know if I can share we've created a Trello board that's free that you can go to download if you want to. It's MSNG, so msng.wtf/Trello. And that Trello board has a video instructing you in each step. It's got a page from my book, Boredom Slayer, details on how to work through that. And it's got each page of it's got the chapter on each section, and then a way for you to build a presentation. And that's the tool we use at our office to build presentations. It beats Post-it notes.
I've used Trello many times. So how is the best way, and how do you appreciate people reaching out to you?
I think the easiest way that you can get in contact with me personally, if you go to getrich.af. So that's nice and easy. And that's one of those little kind of micro link farms that you can go to on your phone. And that links you to my Twitter, my YouTube, my Instagram, my personal website. So it links to my books, my newsletter, and my YouTube channel, all of that there. So getrich.af will take you there. It'll take you to my personal site, which is richmulholland.com. And then from a business side, if you wanted to take part in maybe a speaker mentoring program or something like this, if you go to ineedmissinglink.com, you'll find us there.
Fantastic. Well, I just want to thank Danny for being here. Danny's my brother-in-law. He actually does presentations on a regular basis. He's in the sales and in the oil and gas industry. He's a very dynamic individual that loves to tell stories and tells great stories. Silver Fox Talks is here from Florida. Angie is here from Wisconsin, and Hyatt is here from Houston. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I really appreciate this, Richard. I know that your time is valuable, and I'm humbled by the opportunity to bring you into the pirate community and share this out. And it's going to be shared out again. I'll put up a post and a podcast. It's on a number of different platforms, so this message can get announced and shared again and again, over and over again. So thank you so much for being here. I love the opportunity. And yes, Angie, I would love to have you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm working on expanding that a little bit and growing that channel as well, putting some more content over there. And we're going to have the rest of the week is full of amazing individuals that are going to be joining us today. So Richard, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you, and I'll send you the links to the content afterwards so you can enjoy it and share it out to your audience as well. So thanks again.
Awesome.
Everyone.
Thank you, Russ.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And as everyone knows, kindness is cool. Smiles are free. And you enjoy the day. Take care. Don't go away. Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about, join the Pirate Syndicate today.